Our Two Cents podcast with me, Nam.
And me, Rosh.
And today we bring a very special episode. It's our
Yay.
first episode of the year. So firstly, that's that. It marks the start of what we are hoping to be a good year for us.
I mean, let's hope so.
And so we've got a few things that we wanted to sort of talk about. But our main thing that we're going to be talking about today is our episode that we've been wanting to do for a very long time.
Yeah, and it didn't take us until I just one day was like, how about we do this?
Let's do Devil Wears Prada because it's
Let's do the Devil Wears
I
Prada.
think we've talked about it just in general, but we've never like done a deep dive.
Yeah.
As such, like we've done with, I think my favorite episode that we've ever done so far has been The Mummy, only because like that's one of our other really, really like favorite movies. But we've never really done Devil Wears Prada before.
Yeah.
So this is the perfect opportunity. We're starting the year, and Devil Wears Prada marks, we've never done a series before of episodes. So it doesn't mean that every consecutive episode is going to be part of this series, but we wanted to start a series that is going to be about modern classics in film.
Yep.
Basically, we're taking from the 2000s onwards, essentially. Stuff that we were quite young watching. Like, I was probably still late teenage sort of stage. You were still quite young.
Yeah.
At that time. So something that we've sort of, as kids or teenagers, have really loved and grown up with, essentially. So that's the mark of our first series that we're going to be doing. So the first one we thought we're going to do is Devil Wears Prada. And
Yay! I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh. This is like, would you say like this is your like absolute favorite movie?
I think this is literally tied with The Mummy for me.
Yeah.
Like, I freaking love this movie so much. I really don't even know how many times I've watched it because, like, I will honestly sometimes just rely on watching this movie during the day when I'm by myself and you're at work and I'm, like, eating lunch or something. I'm like, I don't have anything to watch. I'll be like, I'm just going to watch The Devil Wears Prada.
Why not? Why ever not? It's so good. Yeah. It is so good. So we have, so this is something that we're trying a bit where we wanted to sort of be a little bit more professional in the way that we approach these episodes.
Yeah.
Because we've always sort of just like got on the mic and just kind of like chatted and talked about stuff. But we wanted to do like a full deep dive and we actually wanted to talk about like different aspects of the film. And so we're going to have like different sections that we're going to focus on things like plot, characters, obviously the fashion, because it is about the fashion industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then we want to end it sort of with just this question of the legacy of Devil Wears Prada, because how many years has it been?
It's been,
what year did it come out?
2006.
So it's been, what is maths?
Well, another 2 years, it'll be like 20 years.
Yeah, so nearly 20 years.
We're at 18 years, but pretty much.
And people are still watching it and loving it.
God, I love this movie. Yeah.
So it clearly is a very special film for a lot of people, and we're two of them. So that's a really good spot to sort of start off with, just, you know, a bit of background information. So we know that the movie came out in 2006. What else do we know about the film?
It is starring the great, iconic, I don't even know what other adjectives to describe her, but starring Meryl Streep. The GOAT, Meryl Streep.
The GOAT, Meryl
Greatest
Streep.
of all time,
yes,
Meryl Streep.
Absolutely.
It is also starring Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt.
Yep.
This is one of her very first movies.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we'll get into it, but she's incredible in this. Stanley Tucci, the Tooch, and like Adrian Grenier and Tracy Toms and a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah. And who was the director of the film?
David Frankel.
Did a fab job.
Who has done, God, I'm going to try and remember this off the top of my head, but he's done like think he did Marley and Me. I think he did. I know he directed a couple of episodes of Inventing Anna.
He did.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And yeah, that's all I can remember at the moment that he's done.
Probably the most famous thing he's done is Devil Wears Prada.
Devil Wears Prada, yeah.
Which is it's nothing to be.
It's like this is what you want to be remembered for. Like, this is the thing to be remembered for, and you did a great job with it. Like, perfect. It's so good.
Absolutely perfect.
And yeah, the screenplay is by Aline Borsch McKenna, who did I think she did this. She did 27 Dresses.
Did you do 27 Dresses?
Yeah, she did episodes of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend on the CW. She did a few other movies as well.
27 Dresses is another really good movie.
Yeah, 27 Dresses is a great movie.
Yeah. Okay, so plot. Quick outline of the plot.
Plot. The film centers around Anne Hathaway's character named Andrea Sachs. Who doesn't know anything about fashion, doesn't know anything about the fashion world, but goes for an interview at the most prestigious fashion magazine that there can be. It's a fictional magazine, obviously, Runway magazine, to be the personal assistant of the editor-in-chief. And not knowing a damn thing, she doesn't think that she's going to get the job, but she gets the job out of basically amusement for our antagonist,
pretty much
the devil, Miranda Priestley, and lots of fashion and lots of hijinks and lots of manipulation ensues. So yes, that is the basic overall plot of the whole thing. Yeah.
And the main reason why she wants to work here, which I think is a really important plot point, is that anyone who works for Miranda Priestley for at least a year can get a job anywhere.
Because she doesn't want to work here for that, because she doesn't know that until Emily tells her, right?
True.
She wants to work there because she's like, well, basically it was this or Otter Universe. I'm going to be quoting the whole thing the whole time, by the way. So she's like, and you don't read Runway. I'm like, you have no style or a sense of fashion. Because it's true, she doesn't know anything, right? So
she didn't even know who Miranda Priestley was.
Yeah, she didn't know who Miranda. She's like, she doesn't know who Miranda Priestley is. Gets chastised for that by Emily. And I mean, we'll get into all of this, but it's her basic reason for working here is just because she needs a job at this very moment.
And I think the other important thing to point out is that it is based on a book.
Yes.
It is based on a book. I remember reading, I didn't finish the book because then by the time I finished halfway through the book, the movie was already out. So I was like, I'm not going to finish it.
Yeah.
But I remember the opening of the book was like, I think it's in one of the, there's a scene in the film where she's like driving the car, and that's where it opens. It's like just a flash. It's not even a full scene.
The book is written by Lauren Weisberger. So
yes, and it's a great book. I mean, from what I have read, I wish I had finished it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it is based on a book as well. And the book does have some differences, but we are not going to cover those.
Yeah.
I might mention a few just because those differences popped up during like my research. But I'm not going to, we're not focusing on the book. Yeah. We're only focusing on the film. All right, let's jump into our first section. We're going to look at characters, which is like one of the funnest parts. Yeah. So we're going to focus on a few. So obviously we're going to focus on Andy. We're going to focus on Miranda. We're going to focus on Emily, Nigel, and then I have lumped in Nate and the shitty friends. All in one.
And when so what we're gonna do is, like, as we're talking about each of these sections, we're gonna bring in like the script and how it works in like underneath all of this,
because you don't want to talk about the script separately. The script kind of
it all goes hand in hand. Like, you can't talk about it separately and then talk about characters separately, because honestly it all works together.
Before we do that though, if you were just to kind of, we're not talking about the script separately obviously, but coming from that script writing background, when you like read the script, what do you think in terms of just like reading the script?
It's honestly, I wasn't at all surprised that it moves exactly at the pace of the film. They've kept
how do
that
you
pace.
actually do that? Like, how can
So
you...
look, it's difficult because it's like the basic idea is meant to be like a page is basically a minute, right?
Okay.
That's what you see. But not everyone goes by that because sometimes there's an action sequence and like it can be written in a short description, but it might take like 2 or 3 minutes to show, you know? So it doesn't always add up that way.
Yeah.
But it didn't at all surprise me that this is basically minute for minute, page for page. Because, and I guess we'll get into it, but like there's a lot of scenes that at the very start are either taken out or if they're in the script, because it'll say like, you know, scene 32 omitted or whatever. But then like other scenes that are still in the script but then don't show up in the movie because they would have wasted time. So like they would have wasted, and I guess we'll get into it when we're talking about scenes and stuff, but like the opening montage of like all the girls getting ready in comparison to Andy getting ready, like just after that she goes to Elias Clark publication, like HR, and she's talking to Shelley, quote unquote, and there's a whole scene of that, and it's just before she gets to the interview, right? And so they've cut all that, but like in the bit with Miranda, she goes, you know, I met with Cherry up at Elias Clark Human Resources, blah, blah, blah. So she mentions that like, because they've removed it, so that, you know, because it would have just added so much unnecessary bulky time to that really quick, snappy opening that we get, because that's all like 2 minutes, and then we meet Emily. We meet Emily at like the 3-minute mark or something, which is incredible. Like there's not many movies that do that. I know they don't introduce the next character so fast. You know,
they don't take so long to like establish. You know, this is the brilliant thing about, and this is where we'll come into characters and scenes. So I think we'll start off with Andy. So if people haven't heard this before, I am a teacher as well, and one of the subjects I teach is media. And in media, one of the things we do, so I teach senior media, and one of the things we do is we learn about the plot structure. So you have the 3-act structure, and you look at how characterizations develop develop through those 3-act structures, and we look at how the character is established. And I think the really amazing and cool thing that this movie does is, and we actually study this, is literally that opening montage with the song Suddenly I See, and the girls changing and you know, wearing their clothes. It is such a great... How long is it? I think it's about 2 minutes, maybe a little bit less than that. Yeah. It establishes Andy as a character. She has not spoken a word of dialogue. No. All she has done is get ready in the morning. And the contrast is incredible, not only in the scene, but like also in the script, because they've literally described Andy as 20s, pretty but not glamorous, smart but green, because she's very new in this world. And it says that as we're talking, like the girls are getting ready, so one of the girls carefully applies shiny lip gloss. Andy puts on cherry chapstick. It says, Andy straightens a pile of newspaper clips from the Daily Northwestern with the byline Andrea Sachs and proudly tucks them into a hideous college graduation present briefcase. While the other girls are, putting designer handbags and like, you know, the bit where she's like putting on her her stockings are going up the thing, and then Andy's just putting on like regular random Target undies.
Target undies or something. So like, you know, it really shows who this person is, and like it shows her as like she has no idea about fashion. And her only thing is like she is a serious journalist. She wants to be a reporter. Like,
and I think very interestingly, goal in life. Not only does it establish her, it also establishes the world she is going to step into.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so she is so not put together, and she's going into this very intimidating world with these beautiful women who look like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it is great,
even to the point where. And it's not anything to do with Andy, but like about the guys. So the girl, one of the really glamorous girls, has a really like 6-pack.
Oh yeah, the boyfriend,
like abs boyfriend lying on the bed, and she kisses him. And then, like, she just turned to Andy and she's got, like, Nate, who is just, like, in this scrappy, weird shirt. And he's just, like, laying there in bed. And, like even her boyfriend even the boyfriend is a contrast. Like, that's so good.
That is so good. It is so
like,
good.
It's so good.
Like, that opening montage is honestly the best. So, yeah, we study that montage for character establishment.
Yeah, and that's like pages 1 to 2. That's literally the first 2 pages. It's so good.
But I think Andy is probably one of my favorite film heroines.
Yeah.
Because the thing with Andy is she is not one of those heroines who is immediately likable. Yeah. You know, like the first thing she, like when she... This is the thing, like, and we've talked about this. Yeah. It's like she gets to an interview. Now, if you're going for a job interview, what's the first thing you're going to do?
You're going to research the job. You're going to research you're going to look through the job description. Yeah. You're going to look at all the, key aspects of the job.
And look at what the company is.
Yeah, and then you're going to look up the company, how long they've been around for, who the freaking CEO is, or who your boss might just be. And you're going to do a little research on them. You're not going to go, who's Miranda?
Who's Miranda? Now, the only way I could excuse that is if she was given a call and said, look, we're calling from Elias Clark. Come down to HR. We've got a couple of options for you. And they have not told her anything. She gets to HR and Shelley goes, well, there's these 2 options. There's Auto Universe and then there's this. And Andy's never heard of Runway. That is the only way I could have excused that.
True, but we never get that.
Never get that. So I'm willing to cut Andy a little bit of slack.
Maybe
that's the case. I don't think it is.
But I also have to be like, so you know how she says that, like all these articles and all that stuff that, even Runway does and stuff. I find it really hard to believe that she hasn't, like, okay, maybe she hasn't realized it's from Runway, but I find it hard to believe that she hasn't read, like, articles by Christiane Amanpour and all that stuff that have come up online and stuff that could also be in Runway.
Exactly.
And like, wouldn't you, as a journalist, know what Runway is?
Yeah. I think just plain and simple, even if this was the case and then Shelley was like, look, these are the 2 options. Yeah. I think even then, as a journalist, as someone who has studied journalism, you should know there are certain publications. If not the name of the publication or what's in it, you should at least know that there are certain people who have possibly written for these kind of publications.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? At least have an idea. Yeah. Like at least have an idea. Yep. So I think that is a really good point because it kind of leads into this whole idea of how Andy views this job. Yeah. She literally views it as a means to the end of her getting a serious journalist job. Yeah. She doesn't take it seriously. Yeah. She thinks it's all a joke. Yeah. It's just, it's fashion. It's frou-frou. It's nothing. Yeah. It's not important.
Exactly. Whereas the contrast to that is Emily, who is so serious about her job. And... when she says who's Miranda, like Emily's literally like, oh my God, I cannot believe you just asked me that. She's the editor-in-chief of Runway, not to mention a legend. You can work a year for her and get a job at any magazine you want. Absolutely. 1 million girls would kill for this job.
And that's what brings Andy into that whole thing of like, if I get this job, I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, as soon as she hears that, she's probably thinking in her head like, oh, okay.
I like how that line, 1 million girls would kill for that job. It kind of becomes like
it's the motif of the...
It's a motif. It's kind of like even what's that word? A signpost. Yeah. Like every time someone says that, there is something happening. Yeah. And like there's some kind of realization that Andy's going to have or,
Yeah, because like even her friend later says that he's like, 1 million girls will kill for that job. And she's like, yeah, it's just that I'm not one of them. Yeah. And then even... the chairman,
he says that
he says like 1 million girls would kill for that job when he walks out of the thing. And she doesn't really say anything because then Nigel's talking to her, but it just keeps coming up.
I think what I love about Andy is that and this is where it leads into like her relationships as well. So obviously like when there's that scene where I think she's just gotten the job. Yeah. I think, and they're sitting at the restaurant and they're all just talking.
Yeah,
about
that's when
their
Doug
jobs,
says that. Yeah,
right. And it's like, oh, to jobs that pay the bills.
Yeah,
right.
The jobs that pay the rent. Yeah,
yeah, the jobs that pay the rent. And I'm just like, I think that's a really good sort of turning point. Well, not turning point, but it's a really good emphasis there, because you see how Andy is at work. She's not learning anything. She's just following instructions. She's not doing things very well.
Exactly.
And it's frustrating for someone like Emily, because Emily is very much like, she lives and breathes this job.
Yeah.
Like, she loves fashion. She idolizes Miranda.
Yeah.
And she's looking at Andrea, and she's stuck with Andrea.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God. Like, and if you think about it, she was not even going to introduce her to Miranda.
Yeah.
Right? And then for her to get that job,
like,
it's like, oh, damn.
Totally hopeless and all wrong for the job.
Oh my God. But anyway, so I really like that this is the thing. So with Andy, she's just going through the motions.
Yeah.
She's going through the motions, but then there's like a switch that flips for her.
Yeah.
Where she really goes from, okay, this is just a job, it's just paying the bills, to kind of go, I need to hold on to this job.
Yeah.
And I'm actually going to do something about it.
Yeah. That
change in character, I think, is such a great thing to see in a character. A lot of times people think that, oh, she, I think I read this somewhere, I can't remember where. This was like a long, long time ago. And I found it when I was doing a bit of research for like teaching this film in class. Yeah. And someone criticized Andy on that. Like, she changes her point of view of her job.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a toxic thing, because one of the themes is toxic work culture, and we all sort of live in that toxic work culture.
Yeah.
And maybe I identify with it.
Yeah.
But that is something I actually really liked about Andy.
Yeah.
That she finally starts taking her job seriously.
Yeah. And showing the respect of like this institution that has been around for like years.
Because what does Nigel say to her?
Yeah. He says, you have no idea how many legends have walked these halls, and what's worse is you don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
because where some people only die to work, where some people die to work, you only deign to work.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know this whole movie, guys. I don't even have the script in front of me. The iPad screen is black. Like,
but I think that's really, it's really cool, because she finally starts to respect. I wouldn't even say, I think respect, yes, but I think she appreciates.
Yeah.
She starts to appreciate the work that goes into all of this stuff that's going on. Yes, it's a bit crazy and it's so ostentatious and insane, but it is like, there's so much work. And of course, that iconic scene with the cerulean blue.
Oh my God. Which, in the script, is very streamlined. Like, there's no mention of cerulean blue. It's just that she's wearing a blue sweater.
Okay.
And they don't mention Oscar De La Renta. They don't mention, and then I think it was Yves Saint Laurent, wasn't it, who did cerulean military jackets?
New voice
I think we need a jacket here. Oh God. So it's very, very streamlined. It's more like they've it's the base. So think of that scene and the words, and it's basically like the bones of that.
Okay.
And then they've like added the personality and all that later, because like you don't know what's gonna happen on the day. You don't know what the costumes are gonna look like. You don't know, right? So like they probably didn't know. Like when Elaine was writing it, she wouldn't have known that Anne Hathaway is absolutely going to have to wear a cerulean blue.
So okay, so in that situation, would they have on the set then made those changes to the script?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Like they were made changes, and then it's also like sort of up to Meryl Streep, not to make up her lines, but to sort of give it a bit of like oomph and pizzazz that only Meryl Streep can.
So good.
So like,
would it be fair that she's kind of writing her own, like that mini monologue, using the inspiration from the script?
So like the script would have changed as we then see it and hear it in the film. But I mean, in terms of like the how do you like what's the word when you have to have like a certain beat to to the words you're saying. There's a word for
like
that.
a rhythm.
Yeah, not rhythm, but like there's a certain, but yeah, like a certain rhythm, a certain way of like sounding out the words, which would be like a character thing that Meryl would have developed, because as we know, she went method for this and missed out on all the fun, by the way. And she's like, I will never do that again. Because like to go off topic for a second, but like when Emily Blunt and Anne Hathaway recently did the Varieties actors on actors, they started talking about Devil Wears Prada a little bit, which is like, we knew this reunion was going to happen and it was going to be like freaking incredible, which we will talk about in like a later section. But basically, Anne Hathaway was like, when I was there on like the first day of set, I was like, oh my god, Meryl Streep, blah blah blah, and she's like, apparently Meryl said to her, like, it's very lovely to meet you and all this stuff. And she's like, this is the last time I'm going to be nice to you. So just be prepared.
Oh, no.
That was it.
Well, at least she was kind enough to give them a warning.
Yeah. She went like method for it. And then like they would go out for like cast dinners and then Meryl would not
totally
know. And she was like, this is cool. She's right later talked about it. She's like, I'll never do that again. That was like no fun.
I love that. I think that
it's
is so great.
Cool. But yeah, like the cerulean blue was would have pretty much been on the day.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
So that's why it's like iconic now, because it just probably would have just been born from like, you know, they would have seen her sweater and be like, oh, what color is that? And be like, it's cerulean. All right, let's write the cerulean lecture. Let's research where it's been. Oh, Oscar de la Renta has used it. Okay. YSL has used it. Okay. Yeah. And then, you know, the whole...
I particularly absolutely love that scene, because when I was watching that film... When I first watched it, I was probably 16, 17.
Yeah.
It didn't really hit me as much, but I think I was watching it like about 10 years ago. That's when it hit me. And I was like, oh my goodness, this scene is fabulous. Because it is talking about fashion as the industry.
Yeah.
It's not talking about fashion as in like, I don't want to say the wrong thing here, because there's a lot happening here. They are talking about, you know, there's an implication of a lot of negative things here.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to refer to that. But all I'm going to refer to is the fact that the contribution that fashion makes to the economy, good or bad, is so massive.
Yeah.
And that would include things like pollution. It would include things like all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
Is so massive that you cannot take fashion lightly.
No, you can't.
You just cannot.
No. Yeah.
It is it's that pivotal moment that I don't know whether Andy still gets it, but the audience gets it.
Yeah.
It's that moment where it's not an Andy learning moment, because the only thing she really changes is she goes and changes into those shoes.
Yeah.
She doesn't really change who she is.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not really a learning moment for Andy, but it is definitely a learning moment for the audience watching and going, okay, now Andy needs to really get her shit together.
Yeah.
You know? Because she's not taking this seriously enough.
Yeah.
That's when, as the audience, you kind of start siding with people like Emily and going,
yeah,
come on, Andy.
Yeah, hang on.
What are you doing?
Come on. What's going on here? Yeah.
And then, of course, Nigel's lecture kind of adds to that.
Yeah.
You know? Adds to that. And that's when we see that change in Andy, where she starts, you know, obviously, and it's a very physical change.
Yeah.
And this is where we talk about the fun bit about Andy, which is
she gets a makeover.
Oh, hallelujah, the makeover.
Set to Madonna's Vogue. Like, come on.
Can you get more iconic than that? It is so brilliant.
Than Vogue. Rather than Material Girl, which have been so overused. But
we'll talk about costuming later.
Yeah.
But this is the point where she starts taking things
seriously.
And she becomes... And it's like an evolution of Andy. She's no longer just following instructions. She's actually now anticipating Miranda's needs and wants.
Yeah.
Before Miranda can even like rattle out an instruction, she's like, oh, I've already done it.
Yeah.
I've already sent your outfit to wherever you need to go. I've booked this, I've booked that.
Yeah.
And even Miranda is kind of like, okay.
Yeah. And Andrea, I would like you to deliver the book tonight to my house.
There you go.
Have
And
Emily
that's
give
when,
you the key.
and that's when Andrea messes up royally.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god.
All that progress to fall back down on
amazing. But I mean, it goes so well with her character, doesn't it? Because it shows that she's always going to be a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Hard, you know,
which I think is really nice, because I think it's that imperfection in that character.
Yeah.
Because she has become so, like, her style is so, like, on point. She looks great, to the point where even Miranda's kind of like doing a double take and going, oh wow, okay. She's impressed.
Yeah.
And then of course she does something really dumb.
Yeah. Really stupid.
She does really something
really stupid.
I think, what do you think of, like, and I guess this is where we bring Miranda in. I think we can talk about, like, the Andy's sort of, like, ending arc mixed with Miranda's ending arc a little bit later on.
I guess so.
But I think this is where I want to bring in Emily, because I want to talk about Miranda a little bit later.
You know what? Let's talk about them in order of, like, their appearances.
Yeah.
Because, like, so it goes Andy, Emily, Nigel, and Miranda at the very end. Because this, so just to come back to the script a little bit, like, the first 10 pages, that's how it's structured.
Yeah.
Is that you don't see Miranda until, like, page 5 or 6. Because that's when the whole, you know, office goes insane and that whole amazing sequence. But yeah, let's get into Emily.
One of my
dear
favorite
Emily
characters.
Charlton.
She's so cool.
Who is played by the great Emily Blunt. I have, over the years, I mean, I loved Emily when I saw it first. I was like 13, but, like, everyone was always like, oh, she's mean, oh, she's this. I was like, I don't know. I think, like, in something in my, like, 13-year-old head was kind of like, no, I just think she's misunderstood. I just think people don't understand her. Because at that point, I guess people didn't really understand me either. So I kind of, like, related to Emily in that sense. But over the years, I have, like, appreciated Emily more and more and more and more. Like, with every watch that I do. And I swear she is, like, my favorite character in this. Because she is, I mean, like we said, she lives and breathes this job. She lives and breathes fashion. She idolizes Miranda. And she does not get rewarded for anything that she does.
No, she does not. The thing is, though, like, and I hate to bring it down to, like, the comparison between Emily and Andy, but it's invariably you have to do that. But I think when you look at someone like Emily, she is the type of person that you see in an office who works their butt off. She's always busy. She's always working. And most of the time, they will never get the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is, and this is where the comparison bit comes in, the reason for that is where Emily is great at following instructions. She will do what Miranda wants her to do to the T.
Yeah.
She will not go beyond that.
Yeah.
She cannot anticipate Miranda's needs.
Yeah.
And even if she can, she will not do it.
About to quote it again. Where at the end she's like, you can see beyond what people need.
Yeah,
and what they want, and you can choose for yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is the difference between Emily, because even if Emily was to think, oh, Miranda might need that, she wouldn't do it. Yeah. Because she's too scared that Miranda's going to bite her head off. Yeah. Whereas Andy's not scared. Yeah. Right? Because Andy's whole thing is, I'm just here for a year and then I'm out. Yeah. I'm bouncing.
Yeah. And you can see that even at the start when Miranda's, like, really grilling her in the quote unquote interview. Yeah. She literally just turns around and she's like, yeah, okay, I get it. I'm not skinny. I'm not glamorous. But, like, I am smart and will work very hard and blah, blah, blah. And, like, she just outrightly says it, you know, like
she's literally got nothing to lose.
Yeah, she's got nothing to lose at that point, and it's great. So yeah, she's unafraid to stick up for herself.
Yeah. Whereas Emily, this is her life.
Like yeah,
you know, so she's like, I am too scared to put one foot wrong. Yeah, so she does not deviate from the path that she's been told to get to. Yeah, so I think that's the sad part about Emily. Yeah, because. And she's very British, so she's very much like, she's not going to make friends with you. She's not going to be, and I'm not meaning to generalize British people.
No.
But just generally,
but
she's
Emily
got the stiff
is like
upper
that.
lip,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. And she's very much like, you know, just suck it up and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I really like that attitude about her. You know, like as much as you can criticize her and go, she's afraid and she's, you know, she doesn't take chances, blah, 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 blah. She's a great worker.
Yeah, she does her job really well and she takes it really seriously.
And she knows her job really well.
Her description is, she looks the part of the sleek fashionista, but is propelled by a core of barely tamped down anxiety.
Oh, I love that.
Which was so perfect. I actually like burst out laughing when I read it in the script. I was like, that's just absolutely incredible. But yeah, like Emily works not only like that, but like she is honestly so important to the story because she is basically our tour guide.
Yes.
To the world of Runway magazine.
Yes, she does the expositions.
And the world of this story. You know, she serves as like a foil to Andy. Like, you know, she knows a lot about fashion, but like we're saying, she lacks the confidence to stick up for herself.
Yeah.
But
which is interesting because with Andy, she's very different.
Yeah. Because with Andy, she's like, kind of, you know, she is almost like the Miranda
with Andy.
Yes, you know, like
mini Miranda.
She's mini Miranda to Andy. Like she tells her off and like she makes fun of the way she dresses and she's like, you know, she does all these things. So like, but she's also really like, she is the one who kind of like, she's the one who poses the dramatic question of the story in that very first bit where she's like, we need to find someone who can survive here. Do you understand? Because it's basically, will Andy or not, will Andy actually get this job? Yeah. And, you know, that we've heard that they've gone through this struggle of having these assistants like come and go and like, will she get this job? And Emily's kind of the first one who puts that into question. Yeah.
And I think even at the end when she tells that new assistant, she's like, you have very large shoes to fill. She's very much appreciating Andy for what she did for
and like
her.
She gives Andy like the exposition about Miranda, like you know, she's the editor-in-chief of Runway, not and to mention a legend.
That for like us, the audience, as well.
Yeah, and she gives like the stakes is basically, you know, work a year for her and you can get a job in any magazine you want. So that is the stakes of the story. But that's the
stakes for Andy. For Emily, her stake is going to Paris. Yeah. Right? Literally. Like,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, literally.
But I think...
but she's showing her that, you know, this job is valuable. You need to be appreciative of what you get.
Absolutely. Like, don't take this like as if this is just a job in fashion.
Because she says, you know, what makes you think I'm not interested in fashion? And she goes... Runway is a fashion magazine, so an interest in fashion is crucial. What makes you think I'm not interested in fashion?
Have you seen yourself?
Like, have you seen yourself?
What does Nigel say to her? No, she's like, I know. Miranda hired me. I know what I look like. I know what I look like. And then she knows what I look like. Nigel's like, do you?
I love that. I mean, Miranda hired me. She knows what I look like. Do you?
That sends me every single time. Every single time. I just crack up laughing.
But yeah, like Emily, like I said, she doesn't get rewarded, and it could be so frustrating for her because like she's looking. She's like the bystander to what Andy's going through, and she sees that this girl is struggling. She's kind of enjoying it at the start.
It's like a sadistic
but when she starts
pleasure.
doing well, like you could see Emily start to diminish. You know, like
she's like, getting all the menial tasks.
Getting all the menial tasks, and that's the bit where she's just highlighting and putting stickers on shit. And I'm just like, wouldn't that be Andy's job?
Right?
Like, what's going on?
And that's the sad bit about Emily. She gets demoted.
Yeah, basically.
Essentially.
And even the bit where, you know, after Miranda has said, you need to tell Emily that she's not going to Paris, you are. Yeah. And she comes into the office and Andy's standing there waiting for Miranda to give her the coat and the bag, and she dumps on Emily's desk instead.
That is such a
clear sign that Emily's been demoted.
Oh,
like,
absolutely. It's
sad.
Oh
my God. It's
even
so
Andy's
bad.
face is kind of like, oh crap.
She's like, oh shit.
This is not good.
This is not good. So like, you know, and this is the thing about Emily. She's an important character because she is the person who is not really going to move on from this.
No, and she's like almost as if she's like the timeline of Andy being there.
Yeah.
So like the changes with Emily reflect the negative changes with Emily reflect the positive changes. Like it's like a mirror. Yeah, it's essentially. And the interesting thing though is this. Well, I was kind of reading this, and then when we were talking about this film in class, one of the kids sort of mentioned this as well. Emily is a wannabe Miranda. Like she idolizes, she wants to be her. Andy is more organically
like Miranda.
Potentially could be like Miranda.
Yeah.
She's like a mirror of Miranda.
If she makes those choices.
Which
she kind of does.
She kind of does, right? Yeah. And that leads to sort of the end of which we'll talk about when we talk about Miranda.
Yeah.
But that's that difference between Emily and Andy again. Yeah. So you cannot actually view Emily, unfortunately, separately. You have to view her in context with Andy's story.
Yeah.
And I was reading somewhere where Emily Blunt, when she read the script and she was thinking about how to play Emily. Yeah. She was like, it just looked as if like she would be busy all the time. Which is why you're always like watching her running. She's very manic.
Yeah. She's very like frantic. I mean, come on, barely tamp down anxiety. That's what it was, what she is.
I love the bit where she's like, Andy's just come back from an errand and she's like,
is she here? Am I fired? He's like, I rarely say this to people who aren't me, but you have got to calm down. Bloody hell.
That one, and also the bit where she's like, where have you been? I'm busted. Yeah. I need to pee. I'm busted. Oh my God, it's too funny. But I think Emily, she does sort of soften towards Andy towards the end, which is nice to see. I really like that. But of course, in pure, nothing can ever be happy for anybody. And poor Emily suffers an accident.
There's an accident with the Hermes scarves going absolutely everywhere.
Honestly, I
thought she died.
I know, and I was like, this is dark.
When I was watching that as the 13-year-old in the cinema, I was like, how did they just kill off this girl? Like with Hermes scarves going everywhere.
Right?
And I'm just like...
So funny. But anyway, so we've got Emily's storyline sort of ends there. Not storyline, but her appearance essentially ends there.
And then she's only at that scene at the end.
So I think it's a good time to sort of move into Nigel.
Who
again is a brilliant character.
What a legend, played by a legend, Stanley Tucci.
The Tooch. And this is something I did not know. But Stanley Tucci is married to Emily Blunt's sister.
Yes, because I think they met around this time.
That is so cute.
And then, got to know each other after this movie was done and like all this stuff. And I just love the stories and like when they all end up on like each other's Instagrams and like Stanley like cooks for them and like cooks for Emily and John.
Of course.
Like all this stuff. I'm just like, I want to be a part of that family.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I just love them so much.
Anyway, so Nigel, how would you describe Nigel? Like looking at the
Nigel
script,
actually doesn't really have much of a description. It just says a dapper man of about 40. Which I guess he doesn't really read as until the scene where he gives Andy the talk in the script. I feel he doesn't really read as important as he actually is to the story. He very much like, I feel like his like all the lines are exactly the same. Like, Stanley adds his Stanley Tucci-ness to it all, but he really doesn't read the way he is on the screen, because I think they didn't. Maybe the screenwriter didn't really like know how to give them this personality. Yeah. And they've basically left him
to figure it
out, which is like, I mean, it's kind of interesting because like, you think that there would be some more of a description than that, but there really wasn't. And I would like, I didn't really have time to like go and look for like Stanley Tucci talking about this role and everything. So I'd like to know like how he approached this whole thing, because it's not much of a thing to go on, and like maybe what he found was like in the words and the dialogue and everything, and then that's how he found Nigel.
Do you think?
Because I honestly believe that. I mean, I haven't heard him talk about this yet, but it's in that bit where he's giving Andy that lecture where he says, a young boy from Rhode Island, pretending to go to soccer practice and really actually reading Runway under the covers with a flashlight. That tells you everything you need to know about Nigel and his background and the person that he is today, and how important this fashion is to him. So maybe that's like kind of like a stepping stone. That's a grounding for
so
the
that
character.
part is in the script.
No, that is.
Okay.
But like I'm saying, you know how he has such a big personality. Like he comes in and he's all like, she wasn't supposed to be here until 9, and like all this stuff. And like these lines are all there.
Yeah, but
by the way, Gird Your Loins was probably either written on the day or it's a Stanley Tucci improv.
I love it.
Because in the thing, it's just it's Mind Your Battle Stations or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that doesn't work.
And that does not work. It just has no iconic flavor to it.
Gird your loins.
All right, everyone, gird your loins. Oh my God, it's so good.
Love it.
So I think that maybe that bit of like the background is kind of like the stepping stone for this character. Because then he does start to read as important as he is in the film, because I think with everything that happens to him at the end. And,
I think the most important thing that the function that Nigel serves in the story is a caution. I wouldn't even say a cautionary tale, but essentially the reality of things where it is not always glamorous.
Yeah.
Because I love the bit where in Paris, he comes and he tells her that I've been appointed the new head of whatever, James Holt, right? Yeah. And
James
he's
Holt
like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to come to
Paris and actually see Paris. Yeah.
And I love that.
For the first time in 18 years, I'm going to call the shots in my own life.
Right? Yeah. And I just think, like, apart from the bit where he talks about his background and how he gets into fashion, I think this is a really pivotal moment, because you realize that all these people on the surface have this really glamorous life. Yeah. But in actuality, they're working so hard. Yeah. And this is where toxicity comes in again. It's this extremely toxic work culture. Yeah. Where he's been in this position for so many years as essentially Miranda's lackey. Yeah. And she appreciates him on the surface. She's like, oh, he's, whatever. She really values him, clearly.
Somebody came to work today.
But yet, when it's his time to shine, she will snatch that away from you, no matter how deep that friendship is. And that is just so eye-opening, because it's like, it's not a Miranda thing. Anyone in that time, in that industry would do that.
Yeah, it's not just that it's Miranda. It would have been anybody at the top, basically.
So it's like, it's that whole, and we'll come back to it when we talk about Miranda, but he serves as that, and he's almost like the Emily.
Yes, I was gonna say he is very much like Emily in that he does so much work and then he doesn't get rewarded for it, apart from like, oh, somebody came to work today, like, oh, you did a good job, like that's all he gets.
Yeah, so it's actually really sad. Yeah. His little arc, his story arc is actually really, really sad, because nothing really changes. You see him as this figure who is finally going to get this reward, and it's snatched away from him. Yeah. And it's just really sad, and I think it serves as this really well-timed reminder for Andy, our main character, that she was slowly getting sucked into this world. Yeah. And she needs to get out now.
Yeah. Because this is not for the faint-hearted.
This is not for the faint-hearted. Absolutely. Yeah. This is not a place that, yes, it is very, it can come off as shallow and all of that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, these are real people dealing with real things. This is their life. Yeah. It's not just a job. It's their life, And again, it brings out that whole idea of toxic work culture. There are so many people who don't have glamorous jobs, are super hardworking, and never get rewarded for the work that they do.
Yeah.
And will continue to work hard because they don't know how to be anything else.
That's what he says at the end. He's like, when the time is right, she'll pay me back. And Andy's like, are you sure about that?
Are you sure about that?
She was like, and he goes, no, but I hope for the best. I have to.
And I think you can read that as two ways. You can read that as, you know, he's very, very optimistic.
Yeah.
Which I really love. So there's that hope there.
It's great.
But you can also read it as that is the only way he can cope.
Yeah.
It's
a false sense of security.
Yeah, he's seen so much disappointment that is the only way he can cope. And because of, you know, the as you know, in the backstory we see that, you know, he's had to hide his love for fashion and his sexuality. He is used to hiding the way he feels, or he's used to hiding the hurt that he feels in order to cope with his life.
Yeah.
You know, so it's actually,
and this is just an extension of that. So
yeah. So Nigel, I think, is such an important character. He's Nigel's a small character,
brilliant,
but very, very important. And I think we need to move on to the Nate and friends bit because we need to get to Miranda.
Yes.
Oh,
we need to get to Miranda.
So Nate, do we like him?
No.
Do we like the friends?
No.
They
don't even have descriptions in the thing. Yeah, they have names. They don't have like.
Okay, so they have
anything like personality-wise.
What about
or
Nate?
Anything.
Do they have anything?
Nate is just like they just say that he's laying on the bed and he's wearing a Iron Maiden shirt or something. I don't know. Like,
does it say anything about like what he does?
No.
Oh, really?
I mean, in the dialogue, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, yeah, he's a sous chef and everything. But like, I think it comes up that Lily's the art director. But like, there's nothing like. They don't have like really specific descriptions of character or anything, so like I guess it was just sort of like a blind casting or something. But
I think so this is something that's every time I watch this I always think not so much Nate, because it's like, yeah, whatever, he's the boyfriend. I like to lump him in with the friends because they're all sort of like the same, right?
Yeah.
I think this is the definition of, I wouldn't even call it a toxic relationship between Andy and him, because, you know, stuff like this happens.
Yeah.
I would more focus on the toxic friendship aspect of this.
Yeah, especially with Lily.
And just in general, all of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, especially because I always find it so funny that Lily is this art director or gallery person or whatever
Curator
she is, right?
or something.
Curator or whatever,
I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
And she gives Andy crap for her job in a fashion magazine.
Yeah. It's like, you are in the most pretentious job that you could have.
You are not curing cancer.
Yeah.
Like, what? You're setting up photographs. I'm not saying this to negate people who are doing those jobs. Believe me, I'm in the art. Like,
yeah, we both are.
Yeah, exactly. We're creative people, and we, you know, I constantly get, you know, I get annoyed when people don't appreciate the arts because it is so important. But I'm just trying to put it into perspective.
But it is that thing of like, you can't give someone shit about the job that they're doing when you yourself have a very like, not high profile job, but like a job that is in the same realm as that. Like, it is, fashion is art, and she's also in the art world of a different kind.
Exactly.
So like, you can't give Andy crap about this.
So I have a theory
you really
about
can't.
this. I have a theory about this. So Lily, before Andy
is jealous of her?
Yes. Before Andy joins Runway, Andy is badly dressed. She is super naive. She's very much like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Lily is the cool one. She's the one with the job at the art gallery and all of that stuff. Andy, however, starts to change and become more confident. She doesn't take their crap anymore. You know, she sort of like talks back a bit or whatever. Lily doesn't like that.
Yeah.
She does not like that.
Yeah.
And
like the bit, like, that really comes into question when she's like, you know, at the gallery at the end before she goes to Paris, she's like, oh, you know, for the last 20 years I've known everything about you, and, you know, you think Club Monaco is couture and you're always 5 minutes early and blah blah blah. And it's like, you've pinned her as this this helpless thing that you constantly have to like guide and you know, and take care of and all this stuff. And the minute she starts to think for herself, and the minute she starts to do well for herself, and like, this is for her, this is not for you, you start getting like this. You know?
I think it's not even jealousy for, like, in terms of Nate, right? It's similar with Nate. Yeah. I don't even think it's jealousy, and I don't think it's like someone was like, he's this controlling guy and he's losing control of his woman and all of this. I don't even think it's that. I think it's seriously...
I think he thinks he's not at the same level as her anymore.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah. I think it's more his insecurity than him going, oh, she's, you know, all this now. Yeah. She's better dressed. And he kind of like is like, I'm such a loser.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is almost sad.
It's also not her job.
No, to make him feel better about himself.
To make him feel better about his insecurities. Like, exactly. It's just, that's not how it goes.
It looks bad on him because he's not confident enough to kind of be with her anymore. Yeah. You know? So,
like, if you really loved her, if you really wanted this relationship to work, you would find a way
without changing yourself.
You don't have. She's not asking anything of you. No, she's really not.
She wants to make this work.
Why are you being the way that you are?
Yeah, she actually wants to make this work. Yeah. Anyway, and this whole thing of like, from a personal like perspective, having been through some toxic friendships. This really hits me because
same.
It's like toxic friends are the worst. People to have around you. I don't have these friends in my life anymore. Yeah, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah, I've still got one or two, and I don't know how to get rid of them.
Should you be saying this, Daniel?
They don't listen to this.
Oh, fair enough.
I know for a fact they've told me they don't listen to it.
Well, so there you go.
I feel very free talking about this right now. But anyway.
So, so I've got a few, like, I had a few toxic friends. Well, not a few. I would say maybe one particular one. Yeah. Who infected all of my other friendships. Yeah. Thankfully, that person's out of all of our lives now and we're fine. Yeah. But these kind of people leave a scar on you. You know, especially when they're like long-term friendships. These are not friends you've made like 6 months ago or a year ago. These are friends that you've made. This was a friend that I had known for nearly 10 years. Yeah. You know? So like that is a big deal. So coming from that, and I'm sure a lot of other people experience that as well. Yeah. It really does hurt when you look at the friends. Yeah. And the way they treat Andy. Yeah. And I think that's another really like learning point for Andy is that And that's interesting that in the film they haven't shown us what happens to the friends because they do sort of show a bit of a reconciliation with Nate. Yeah. But it's not like a lot of people read
like,
it as
they get back together. So then there's no talk of them getting back together. Yes, he says, you know, they might even have like Jarlsberg in Boston or whatever.
But they're not back together. Not like she's in New York, he's in Boston.
Yeah, she's, you know, I don't see her going to Boston.
I think she's moved past Nate. Yeah, she's okay to be friends with him, but I don't think she can ever go back and have a relationship with him.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. So I think that sort of is a really good point for Andy to kind of go, maybe I don't need these people in my life anymore, and it's sad to lose them. Yeah. And I reckon if they had made up, then they probably would have shown it a little bit. I don't know. But the fact that they didn't even show a reconciliation with Lily, I think Lily's out. Yeah. I would like to think.
And I think she still meets Doug occasionally for a drink, and that's about it.
Yeah, maybe. Doug seemed the only one. Doug is the only one.
Nice. He gets carried away and influenced by the other two sometimes. But he's the only one who's kind of like, he's like excited for her to go to Paris.
He doesn't like, do it in a malicious way.
Yeah. You know, he's like, oh my God, are you going to see Galliano? And like, Nicholas Gunsky.
And now we are at our most famous and favorite person to talk about.
Oh my God.
The devil
herself. The antagonist.
Miss Miranda Priestley.
Miranda Priestley.
How would you what is her? So go to the script. And how has she been described?
Let's talk about it from the very iconic introduction of Miranda first, right?
Love that scene.
So, from pages 5 to 6, and then like even a little bit later on, like 7 and 8, we're basically establishing her power as an antagonist because we are seeing, and why she has this power is because of all the reactions from the employees at Runway and how they react to the news that she is arriving early to work.
Yes.
They are frantic. There's chaos all over that place where Emily just says, you know, she's on her way. Text everyone. Like, tell everyone. And Nigel's like, she's not supposed to be here until 9 and blah, blah, blah. And they just have this. And then he says the Girdle Alliance and everyone keeps going. Like, everyone just descends into madness. And they're filing papers away, and like, you know, people are changing from their ordinary shoes to their high heels, and they're putting lipstick and the webcam so that, you know, like all this stuff is happening. And as all of this is happening, Miranda is basically getting out of the car, walking into the Elias Clark building, walking into the elevator to come up to the building, like to come up to the floor, right? As this is happening, people are opening doors for her. She's going through the security. People are cutting her off by accident and saying, sorry, Miranda. She doesn't even look at them. She gets into the elevator as that person gets off because they can't have the same elevator. And then she arrives. And like, as she is arriving, that is when everything is clear and everything is like, and Emily's like frantically running down the hallway as the last little bits are getting taken away and like the hallway is being cleared and everything. Like, if that doesn't tell you the magnitude of this woman and who she is, I don't think anything else does, because like, that is a powerhouse and all these people know it, and that is basically her asking for perfection of all her employees, and when it's not there, it's only not there when she is not there. Yeah. So as soon as she's there, they all jump into action.
And I think we see that whole thing of perfection and power constantly with her. She's never off. Yes. She is never off. She is constantly expecting that from her employees. Yeah. And and you can see it in like particular scenes, specifically in obviously the cerulean blue one. Yeah. But in the lead up to that as well, which they're talking about the run through, right? And what a run through is, and what Miranda does, and how she
everything, every single shoot. Runways are a huge deal. I don't know why you don't know that, Andrea.
So even the fact, the way she runs the run. Now, obviously, I've never worked in a fashion magazine, so I don't know whether that's actually
it's true pretty much the same thing, because I've watched the September issue documentary of the Vogue magazine, like of Anna Wintour.
You would think that that's what it would be.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah. So you would think that that would be it, but just the fact that they show that, they didn't just go into the run through bit, they actually talk about the run through, kind of gives the audience the idea, and of course through Andy, the audience, what a run through is, and how important and significant that moment is. And that's when we of course get that brilliant scene with the cerulean blue thing. And that's really the first scene. Obviously, you know, we see her in the interview and all of that sort of stuff. But this is like the first scene where you see Miranda at work. Doing her thing.
Yes. Doing the actual means of her job. Yeah.
Not the sitting at her desk and going
Not the sitting at her desk, not the giving orders. No. Because like, even when she walked, so like, yes, everyone's afraid of Miranda and like but we as an audience don't know why until she gets to Emily and she starts talking and she's like, you know, I don't understand why it's so difficult to have an appointment and blah, blah, blah. And she starts giving her all the, you know,
but that's not work.
But like, that's not work. That's basically just orders. But that's, again, showing that it's this or nothing. Yeah. But nothing is not an option. Yeah. You know? So like, she's very hard to impress.
But the thing about that scene is that we see her putting that outfit together. Yeah. We see how her brain is working. Yeah. And how her brain is like looking at the stuff and she's multitasking. She's walking, she's talking, she's giving instructions at the same time as she's putting this outfit together.
But she's also asking Nigel for second approval because
she's thinking. Yeah. And it gives you the impression of this really whip smart, intelligent woman. Yeah. You know, that you cannot underestimate. Yeah. And I think, again, it's more for the audience rather than for Andrea, because Andy hasn't learned anything. Yeah. Right? But the audience knows that you cannot mess with this woman. Like at all. So when the scene with the where Miranda gets stuck in Miami comes along, you know how badly she's going to react. Andy may not anticipate how badly she's going to react, but you as the audience know that Andy seriously messed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And I think that is what is so amazing about Miranda.
Yeah.
As the character. And of course, it's Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep.
Like Meryl Streep. Okay, so she is not based off of Anna Wintour.
No.
Who is she actually based off of?
She's based off, I can't remember the name of the editor-in-chief, but at Harper's Bazaar.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't remember her name at this present moment.
I'm actually really happy she was never based on Anna Wintour because, to be very fair,
Anna Wintour has no... oh my god! I don't even want to say it.
I will say it because I will probably have never have anything to do with Anna Wintour.
Yeah.
I don't think she's a stylish lady.
No, I don't think so.
I do not like her style. I don't think it's timeless. I think it's extremely... I can't believe I'm criticizing Anna Wintour. But I just think she's so boring.
Yeah.
Okay, what I will say, her personal style is very boring, but I do appreciate what she can recognize as
that comes
important.
That comes from the people that work under her who bring her all these...
True, and she's the one that makes those decisions. So she obviously makes good decisions. Yeah. It's not that.
Like, I don't know. I can't remember the name of the person who works at Vogue, but she's basically the real life Nigel. And she's the one who like puts the photo shoots and everything together. My God, she's incredible. But even in that documentary, they show there's like tension between them because sometimes she doesn't agree with Anna and sometimes Anna doesn't agree with her and like all this stuff. So like, but then, you know, there has to be a compromise and they do come to a compromise every now and then. But like, it's very telling because it, you know, it sort of reflects the same thing in the movie,
in the film,
between they've gotten that. I think interestingly.
The other bit that I really like watching her is when she's giving those rapid fire instructions. Yeah. Again, it's that indication of how this woman's brain works. Like with Miranda, honestly, it's a brain game. Yeah. It is a brain game.
I need 10 or 15 skirts from Calvin Klein.
What skirts? Did she tell you?
Please bore someone else with your questions.
No, but I love
and make sure we have Pier 59 at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
I love Emily's reaction to that. She's like, did she say?
Did she say what kind? Shape, color, fabric? No, I tried to ask her. You never ask Miranda anything.
Like, how are you supposed to know that?
I will deal with all of this, and you will go to Calvin Klein.
It's too good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the only time you really see Miranda vulnerable is at twice. Yeah. First is at the house when Andy stupidly
goes upstairs.
Like, are you an idiot?
You've been told not to go upstairs. Why did you go upstairs?
Andy's brain sometimes like has a fart.
Yeah.
I think. It's like, yeah, it is confusing. There's too many flowers. Just put it on the front thing and get out. Don't listen to her kids.
No, but realistically, yes, there's a lot of flowers everywhere, right? For me, in my head, it would make more sense for her to put where, you know, she puts the dry cleaning in the cupboard.
Just put it next to that.
Put it next to that because that faces adjacent to the stairs.
Exactly.
Where Miranda's viewpoint is going to be on the book.
She comes down the stairs, she'll see it.
She'll see it.
Exactly.
I think that makes so much sense. That's what I would do. And if I got fired for it, well, then I got fired for it.
At least I didn't go up.
Yeah. At least I followed the instructions to the best of my ability.
I just think Andy, stupid moment.
Andy.
That was the only criticism I have in the sense. But then, you know, it's manufactured because you have to have that conflict, essentially. But that's like one of the first moments you see her a bit vulnerable because she's having that argument. Her voice is different. Yeah. Her stance is different. She's very, very different.
Yeah, they're having an argument.
And then that moment in Paris where she's like got no makeup on, which Meryl Streep is the one that made that decision. And she's talking about her divorce, and that's the only time she lets anybody into her personal life. Yeah. And the fact that she does that with Andy is very telling because at this point Miranda has recognized that Andy is very much like her. Yeah. she sees herself in Miranda, which she does tell her at the end.
Yeah.
But she sees herself,
and that bit in the script is also very interesting, because that whole bit is pretty much the same, but there's a little bit in the middle, in the bit where she's talking about Stephen, and after she says, splash across page 6 and Snow Queen drives away on Mrs. Priestley and blah blah blah, and I think she says something along the lines of, they all say they're fine with a powerful woman until things get rough. And it's interesting that line is not in the final product in the movie, but then I guess it also makes sense because we don't need to be told that Miranda is powerful. We already know that she is, and we already see that conflict prior in the house, which is again also in the script. But I guess her vulnerability comes from the fact that I guess she's already expressed it enough, and we didn't need to like double down or something, I guess. So that's why it's taken out. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing to be there, but then, taken out or whatever. But yes, so it's basically, what were you saying? It's like a thing for Andy. What do you mean? You were just saying it's like a thing for Andy.
Like when she's talking about her divorce and stuff. Yeah. It's like, this is the first time she really recognizes, not first time, but it's kind of an indication to the audience. Again, not for Andy so much, but for the audience, that she feels comfortable enough. Yeah. Trusts Andy enough to expose herself personally. And her tone of voice when she talks to Andy has changed. Yeah. And the moment you realize it's changed is when Andy goes to the house to drop the book off, and Miranda's just sort of sitting in her living room, and she tells her about telling Emily that, you have to tell her that she's not going to Paris. It's very conversational now. Yeah. She's no longer rattling off orders anymore. I mean, there are certain parts where she does do that, like where she's like, freesias? Do I smell freesias?
If I smell freesias anywhere, I will be very disappointed.
But I think again, it's a tactic. She doesn't want to talk to Andy. She doesn't want to discuss what's happened. Yeah. But essentially, she has changed from giving orders to kind of having a very conversational tone with her. Yeah. So just from that, you can see that she is trusting Andy. She is actually... Yes. She is actually comfortable being a bit more like her actual self. Yeah. Not this... Because, let's be honest, Miranda is the character that we see. She's actually not like that. That's the shell that she's built. Yeah. To be in this industry.
It's the superficial versus the authentic. Exactly. It's the vulnerable versus the hiding everything inside all the time. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's a very it's a very interesting spot to put it as well, because the structure of this is very interesting, because up until now there hasn't really been a time where we see or even have the illusion of Miranda just by herself. Yeah. And when Andy walks in, she's walking into a very vulnerable moment, like no makeup, she's even crying and everything. But I love the placement of this because it's just before the
big
betrayal, and it's like, this is the only time I'm gonna let you see me like this. Yeah, because this is not who I want you to see me as all the time. Like, don't expect this from me all the time.
This is not me.
This is not
and
me.
Even when that changes, it like as they're talking, and she just like, kind of goes business mode immediately.
She's like, is there anything I can, if you want me to cancel your evening, I can. Don't be silly, why would we do that? Yeah. She goes, is there anything I can do? She goes, your job.
Yeah. So she's back to, like, she's done her moment, and now she's back to that perfectionism. Goes,
that's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, and I think that leads into that whole bit with Nigel as well, because, you talk about toxicity. Yeah. Miranda is the definition of toxicity. Because if you think about it, Miranda's sort of risen in that, so what, this is 2000, so she's obviously had her time in like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, where getting to the position that she is in would have been a very, very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
So she has adopted that armor and made decisions that have...
And moved through the rest of her life like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And made decisions that have ultimately ensured her position by making sure that nobody can take it away from her.
Yeah.
And if she has to cut people in her life out of it, she's going to do it. She's ruthless.
Yeah.
She is absolutely ruthless. And what she does to Nigel is completely ruthless. And what you see her sort of I wouldn't say force Andy, but I guess in a way it is that. It's that very toxic boss that she doesn't want to do the dirty work. She doesn't want to say to Emily, I'm taking Andy, not you. She's making Andy do that.
Yeah.
And in a way, you could read it in two ways. You could read it as, you know, Miranda kind of just doesn't want to do it. Or at that point, I think she's, as I mentioned, like she's already started to recognize Andy's sort of like her.
Yeah.
I feel it's almost like a test she's putting Andy through.
Yeah.
It's another one of she's going to do it.
Yeah.
And almost like take it as a learning experience.
Yeah.
For Andy to toughen up a bit.
Yeah.
You know? And if Andy's able to do that, then Miranda's like, I got her. She's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know? She'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I think that is such an interesting thing to look at. And then I love at the end, like the trajectory, obviously, at the end when Andy realizes, and this is where we come back to like the end of Andy's arc, essentially, where Andy has gone from following orders to anticipating everything that Miranda needs to recognizing that she is making decisions very similar to Miranda.
Yeah.
And so she is the mirror to Miranda, essentially. So where Emily is a wannabe Miranda, Andy's organically becoming like her.
Yeah.
She's not to that level, obviously.
Yeah.
But she can potentially be that way.
She can be before she leaves.
Yeah. And so at that moment, she decides to leave.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's so... And Miranda obviously says it.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, I see something... What did she say in the...
I see a great deal of myself in you.
And I love Andy's reaction to that. She's her face is just like, oh my God,
she's
what?
Like, I don't think I'm anything like you. Blah, blah. She's like, oh, but you can see beyond what people want and what they need, and you can choose for yourself. If you want this life, those are sacrifices you have to make.
And I love how she goes, who doesn't want this life?
Yeah. So, and she's like, oh, you know, what if I don't want this? What if I don't want the way you live or whatever? She goes, oh, don't be ridiculous, Andrew. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants to be us. Ooh. Which in the script is, this is what everybody wants. Everybody wants to be me.
Ah, okay. Oh, I like the us change.
I love the us change.
I like that.
I don't know that necessarily would have been like a change on the day. I think they would have been like, let Meryl Streep do her Meryl Streep thing.
And that kind of brings it into the whole thing of a million girls were kid for this job.
Yeah, everybody wants to be us.
So it's her and Andy.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be us.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, the fashion community sort of thing. Oh, my God. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's so good.
I love it.
When I was reading the script, I was like, yeah, the me does not work. It makes, like, look, Miranda is very self-centered, like, as we've established, but it makes her completely self-centered at that point, if that was what had stayed. So to make it, everybody wants to be us.
It's still self-centered.
It's still self-centered, but it's like, everybody wants this whole life.
It makes her, brings her into that elitist realm.
Yeah, it's the class. It suddenly becomes a class structure.
Yeah,
you know,
it does.
Which it kind of already is, but
it is like if you look at it from a purely like Marxist point of view, it is just purely plebs versus bourgeoisie.
Like even something as simple as when Emily's mad that she like Andy went upstairs and she's like. If you jeopardize Paris for me, I will search every Blimpies in the tri-state area until I track you down.
Yeah. So, I mean, we haven't done a Marxist reading of it, so and I would actually really like to do it that way.
But I mean, we don't have time for that.
And we don't have to. We're already at 1 hour and 20 minutes. So this is gonna be a mammoth episode.
This is like that's like one of the themes, right? But there's like class, and there's gender, and
there's so much
and power and hierarchy of the workplace, and toxic work culture, and there's just like everything, like, price of success and, like I was saying, superficial versus authentic and identity, self-discovery, all that.
What I love about this film, and this is before we go into costuming quickly and thinking of gender.
Yeah.
One of the other things we did with this film, we talked about in class. We talked about the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what the Bechdel test is, it is essentially looking at a film, looking at a particular scene where there are two or more women talking about something that is not related to love, marriage, men, essentially. This film is brilliant because it passes the Bechdel test.
Yeah.
In pretty much every scene.
Yeah, literally.
So you get and I know the Bechdel test is not the be all and end all for measuring something like that.
It's kind of become a little inconsequential.
It's a bit restrictive, I think.
Yeah. It's become a little bit restrictive at this point because
I would still use it. I don't.
It
think
depends
it's
on what kind of conversation you're having about a man as well. So it really depends. Because it doesn't necessarily have to be about like sexuality or anything. It could be about, I don't know, maybe he's going through some health challenges. I don't know, but so it is a bit restrictive now. But
it is a bit restrictive now. But essentially, when you look at something like the Bechdel test, it's a good way to measure something. Right? Yeah, just at least from a entry level,
especially for a film from the time that this is in.
Yes,
where that would have been important
because the Bechdel test sort of developed during this time.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, well, kind of during the time of Sex and the City, but
yeah.
Speaking
of Sex and the City, this is a good intro to costuming. Because we have the brilliant Patricia Field, or Patty Field, who has done the costuming for the film. And unfortunately, she didn't win anything. She was nominated for an Oscar for this. I think Marie Antoinette won for that year. I'm not sure.
Oh.
I can't remember.
Maybe.
But, she didn't win. And that's a sad thing. However, Patricia Field, if you're a fan of Sex and the City, she did the iconic looks for, I think it was 6 seasons.
Yeah.
And I think she's done the films as well, and she's done the new And Just Like That.
Is she doing And Just Like That?
Oh, no, she's not doing And Just Like, because she's working on Emily in Paris. Yeah.
Oh. I was going to say, because And Just Like That, not great.
Not that great, but neither is Emily in Paris.
Well, yeah.
Unfortunately, Emily in Paris is not hitting the style mark. So sadly, however, we're not going to talk about the sadness. We are going to be talking about
the peak,
which is, I think, Devil Wears Prada. As much as everyone like compliments her for Sex and the City, I think she's done a great job at Sex and the City.
But
I love her work on this film.
The Devil Wears Prada is the GOAT. Because like with a series, you've got 6 seasons, you've got time to develop the looks, and tell a story through clothing for your characters. In a film, you don't have that long. No.
So you have to be really quick.
have to be on it. Yeah.
So essentially we've got Andy.
Yeah.
We talked about that opening sequence where we see her completely not styled. Yeah. She's very, very not stylish. Like, my gosh, even we're not that bad.
Even we're not that bad, and we are.
We like fashion, and we're fairly stylish, but
we're novices.
I would say we're not fashionistas.
We're not fashionistas, but we're not exactly.
I would just say we don't look like crap.
Yeah, we don't look like shit. So
we look fine.
Yeah, we're okay.
We look fine. We're okay. We do what we can.
Yeah, with our money, with our budget that we have. Yeah.
But we do love fashion, and we love like watching fashion stuff and all of that. Like, I love it. Anyway, so we've got Andy. She starts off as, and I love, the reason why I love costuming is because it tells visually the story of the character. Yeah. It's not through dialogue. It's not through music. It's not through any of this action. It's just purely through clothing. Yeah. And for a film like this, like, I love the line where Nigel says, when he's giving Andy the lecture, what does he say about you live your life in it? You're the one with the dialogues.
Where you only I can't remember.
God, you failed me on this one.
No, I failed. He's like, oh, because you live your life in it.
Yeah, basically the gist of it is that it's important because this is art and it is something that you live your life in.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. And then he goes, you may not.
Yeah. He's like, well, not you, but some people.
But not you, but some people. But essentially, it's clothing. And like, if you take anything from the whole cerulean blue scene, it doesn't matter if you have not gone and bought a couture outfit. The decisions that are being made and the things that are being shown on the runways ultimately do trickle down, even if you go and shop at Shein,
Yeah.
So, or Zara or whatever. It is inspired by the decisions that these people are making. So it's not something that you can sort of say, oh, I don't do fashion. If you wear jeans, you're part of that industry.
Yeah, exactly.
You wear clothes, you're part of that industry.
Yeah, and I will say that the trickle-down system... It's there's been a lot of talk of like, is the where people say, oh, let's actually not quote that scene as much because the trickle down system is not quite the same, whereas now we have like social media, we have influencers and everything, fast fashion and all this stuff that has come up that is sort of now becoming like people's influence. So
true, but they're still making those same decisions.
True, no,
it
is
part of that.
So I don't necessarily agree with that full. There's a whole article about it, like this trickle down system that Devil Wears Prada talks about is not the same. Blah,
I mean, it's not exactly the same. It's not exactly
the same,
but like times have changed.
Yeah, but like they should be this acknowledgement that social media plays a very big part
of course, like half of the fashion trends that we see now are from social media.
Yeah, exactly.
Quiet luxury, anyone?
Quiet luxury.
Oh my god, I'm glad that's kind of over.
Yeah, I guess that sort of came from
what I learned from that is I'm already quiet luxury. Thank you very much.
I'm not. I'm loud luxury. I mean, luxury, quote unquote, because I have nothing that is luxury. But you know what I mean.
I'm quiet luxury because I've always been one of those people. I don't like logos.
Yeah.
I love a good good fancy bag. I just don't want a giant logo on top of it. I've always been like that.
What is the line from Succession? He's like, you don't want a
ludicrously capacious bag. So good. That scene, like when I've not watched Succession obviously.
Yeah.
But that scene, when they show that scene, I always look at that poor woman. I'm like, oh man, lady, that bag does not even go with your outfit.
Yeah.
So sad.
You did not take a page out of Shiv Roy's book.
No, not at all.
That's how you do quiet luxury. My God, her style in the show is so good.
Anyway, so let's get back to the film. We've got Andy. She doesn't, wear anything fancy. She doesn't even, her stuff is just awful.
Yeah.
And like if you look at her outfits by themselves, they're actually not bad outfits. They're just badly fitted and just
do you have some prior commitment? Some hideous skirt convention you have to go to?
But then Andy messes up at work, is not able to get Miranda back home in time for her children's whatever. And then she's like, okay, I need to do something to catch Miranda's attention, to make her see that I am not useless. And that's when she has her makeover. And those clothes.
Oh my God.
Oh, jeez. Amazing. One after the other. I love everything she wears.
That she wears. Like, I would change some of them now to like,
But even then, there are things like, oh, I'll remove that hat or remove that belt or I'll change the hair or, something
change
like
the
that.
hair or like the earrings or whatever. It's not big changes. Yeah. Ultimately, the outfit is still great. So
we're not really talking about style. We're not doing a style analysis. But Andy's very like, what would you describe her vibe as? Like when you look at her clothes?
Chic.
Yeah.
Oh, Andy, you look so chic.
You look so chic. Yeah, she is. Like, I think she's chic. I think she's very like feminine.
Yeah.
She's not very like, and I think that reflects who she is because she's very young.
Yeah.
Especially with, she's very fresh in the industry, so it kind of reflects that very innocent sort of vibe. And she's always wearing those little Chanel dresses and lace outfits and all of that sort of stuff. I think someone mentioned she wears a lot of Chanel. She wears a lot of Calvin Klein.
Dolce & Gabbana.
Yeah. And I think someone else mentioned Miu Miu. I think,
was
as
there
well.
Mew Mew in there? I didn't recognize.
I think there was a Mew Mew outfit somewhere. What would be your favorite look
of Andy's?
Of Andy, not just in the montage, but just like throughout the film.
So hard because my favorite outfit is in the montage.
I mean, it can be in there. I'm just saying.
It's 2 in the montage. It's the last 2 that we see. So the checkered dress with the long.
Is it checkered?
I think it's like checkered or striped. I think it's striped, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. It's like a striped dress that with the long brown coat.
Yes, it's like a patent leather
coat that she's wearing just as she checks herself in at the gates before she gets into the elevator.
Oh, I love that outfit.
And she wears it all the way up until the door to the office where it changes.
Yes.
And she's wearing that black ensemble with the
all black
with the boots. And the dress is short and she's wearing a long, like, not coat, but it's like a
cardigan-y
like
coat sort of thing. Yeah, jacket.
Yeah.
That outfit, that all black outfit is my absolute favorite on her. My other absolute favorite on her is the suit she wears in Paris.
Oh my god, yes. Sorry, yes. Okay, so that's 3 for me.
Love those two.
With the leather bustier inside.
Oh my gosh.
Suit thing on top and
stunning.
The purple satin skirt.
Is it purple satin?
It's like purpley. It's like a purple, not satin, but like a.
Is it velvet or satin?
It's like it looks like velvet.
The like top is velvet.
The top is velvet. I don't think it's velvet. I think it's like a satiny.
Either way,
it's like some combination of like fabric.
It's so stunning.
It's like a very like mauvey kind of purple.
I just love those outfits. Those 2 outfits I just absolutely love. And what I love about it is the fact that outfit, the Paris outfit that I mentioned, is the one outfit that Nigel does not style for her.
He was like, I'll put that together for you.
And what did she say?
He was like, oh, it's just something that I threw on.
And he's just like, oh my gosh.
Like, incredible. No, seriously, it's beautiful. And my work here is done.
And that's the thing. It's like it's that symbolism of Nigel saying my work here is done. It's like he's taught everything. Yeah. She's learned stuff. And then at the end when we see her, you know, she doesn't have all the designer wardrobe because let's face it, she was getting half of the stuff from the
and she's going to give it all to Emily anyway.
Yeah, the runway closet. But she's still looking stylish. Like she's going again, it's like a mirror image of what happens in the first. She's going for an interview. She's going for an interview at the end. Yeah. But the way she's dressed is completely different. She's so much more stylish. It's ordinary. She's just wearing jeans, a jacket, and a polo neck. Yeah. And boots. Yeah. But the way she's styled it is obviously something she's learned from her time. Yeah. At runway. Yeah. And I really love that. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really cool. Coming back to the next queen in fashion, and that's Emily. Oh my gosh. So cool.
So cool.
How would you describe her style?
Fashion forward, but also a little bit edgy.
Yes. She's very experimental almost. Yeah. Right?
Like, there's not many people who can pull off that, like, tassel-y brown tank top that she's got going with that skirt. Yeah.
I would put her in the boat of a bit more trendy as well. Yeah, because if you compare Andy and Emily's outfits, a lot of Andy's outfits are very timeless. You could still wear them. Yeah. Whereas
Emily's very of her time.
Yeah, very of her time. There's a lot of changes you'd have to make. Yeah. To make them stylish.
She's got a lot of like cinched in belts that she's wearing
and those skirts, which I used to have. Some of those skirts, and they're not at all. They're very dated now. Yeah. So yeah, I think I would say that's her thing. I couldn't find what kind of designers she wears mostly. Emily, like I saw one where she's wearing.
She's probably got a lot of Valentino. I will say that.
Yeah, probably. But Vivienne Westwood, I think.
Vivienne Westwood with her skirts and everything.
Yes, and also like some of the tops and the jackets.
Yeah. Especially the jackets that really like nip in at the waist.
Which is interesting because she's British, so you know, it kind of like reflects to be that style as well.
And there was another one.
I think the edginess is an interesting one because I feel it's very. Her style is not very American. which I love because it kind of is an ode to the fact that Emily is not American.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what she is in the book.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's also British in the book, but she is British here.
I can't remember. Yeah.
But I like that little sort of subtle difference there. What's her favorite look that she's worn for you?
I really love the brown dress with the polka dots and the rouge.
Is it polka dots or is it like squares?
They're like polka dot squares. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty dress, and she's wearing those big earrings.
The big earrings, and the bit where just before Andy comes in wearing the Chanel boots. Are those the Chanel boots?
Yes. Yeah. What do I like of hers?
I really like that dress.
I actually don't know.
And funnily enough, the bit where she's sick and she gives Miranda the whatever she comes at the meeting. The outfit that she's wearing there is really nice too, because it's like a very like pencil thin skirt with that big belt, and like she's tucked in
her cardigan or something.
Yeah,
like that's a nice one.
It looks really good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And she's wearing like super high heels.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say I love her gala look. That's a beautiful dress.
Like wearing Valentina for crying out loud.
I think the gala look, and also probably I don't know. I really don't know with Emily. I think because it's so trendy.
Yeah.
There's not much that I can like now go back and like go, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Probably the first outfit she wears when we first see her.
With the bolero jacket.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Right. It matches.
I don't much care for that because I don't like the bolero.
Yeah.
I don't like those.
I like the shoulders on it. Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So Emily's a tough one because
Emily is a tough one. But the ones that I think I said, I still think you could wear those today. Those are the only two that I think you could still wear today.
I think so.
But yeah.
And then we have to talk about Miranda, of course.
Oh my god.
She's timeless. Like
timeless.
I love.
Yeah. Timeless.
I just
classic.
Everything she wears. Because again, like she doesn't have to prove anything. She doesn't have to wear anything trendy.
Yeah.
Because she's Miranda.
Yeah.
You know, Priestley. She's the one that sets trends.
Yeah.
And I think everything that she wears is very much reflective of the kind of person that she is, and the kind of, but I think she's not boring though.
No.
Which is what I really like. Like she could have been like, I think I was watching this thing on Anna Wintour where she only wears the one type of shoe.
Yeah.
And she only ever wears the one type of sunglasses. Or the only type of dresses she wears on the floor. And I'm like, that is so boring. For a person who has that much access to all of
the fashion stuff. But then I guess it's that thing of like, I don't need to look like anyone else.
Maybe. It's not
my status is what makes me what I am.
True, but like she doesn't have to look like anybody else.
Yeah.
You know? Like she can still...
True, like still you can... With all the stuff that you have access to. Yeah.
With her fashion and her style.
Yeah.
Without looking like it. And that's what Miranda does so beautifully.
Yeah.
She wears such classic things. She doesn't look like anybody else though.
Yeah.
You know? Like her...
I think that's how she's described as well, because it's like... Miranda's look is so distinctive, you can spot her a mile away. She is unlike any other beautiful woman, singularly Miranda.
There you go. That's an interesting description.
Describe her. So.
I love the fact that she has grey hair. She's not afraid to look her age.
Yeah.
And like even the way she dresses, she's not dressing younger.
No.
She's not. She's age appropriate at all times.
Yeah.
She's not afraid to be sexy.
Yeah.
You know, like there's the benefit gala look with the beautiful,
the exposed shoulders,
like
Valentino as well. Amazing.
So, so designers. She wore a lot of Valentino.
Yeah.
Obviously Prada.
Prada.
Fendi. And what was the other one?
Donna Karan,
who at that time would have probably been
at that time very
big.
Yeah.
I don't know about now. No one really talks about Donna Karan.
No, I think she's kind of taken a bit of a backseat from like being very runway focused. I think that she's very ready to wear kind of focused. And
fair enough.
Not really couture anymore. So
fave looks for Miranda.
That is really hard. I'm trying to think. I love the gold jacket outfit.
Oh,
from the run blue. Yeah, from Run Through Day.
Yes, that's a good one.
Which she's wearing with pants, which is
she's
amazing.
Pants. Yes.
I love the when just after Andy has been unsuccessful in getting her back from Miami, she's wearing that black
outfit. Oh,
with those beautiful Alaya heels again.
Gorgeous.
And she's wearing a whole lot of jewelry, very Indian inspired, which still kind of suits her, which is interesting. I love that. I love the benefit dress. I really, really do. The Valentino. And it's not a full outfit, but there is a coat that she wears in the montage of her constantly dropping her.
Is that the red one?
It's the red fur coat.
Oh yes, that's a good one.
I love that coat so much.
Coat. That is a good coat. My favorite is the one that she wears after Andy doesn't bring her from Miami.
Yeah,
I think so. This is my take on the jewelry because it's very it's a lot of jewelry. Miranda doesn't wear that much jewelry generally. But I feel like because she's asserting her power.
She's trying to be intimidating.
Like, I'm the queen. Yeah. And because she's playing with her necklace and she's really playing up stuff. I think for me, that look, I think her last look,
the
Paris,
the Paris look.
Gala look, that's a beautiful one. Even though we don't see it fully,
the full thing, but those shoulders.
Yeah, the shoulders. And speaking of that dress,
like that,
we just watched. I think Anne Hathaway's talking about it, where Patty,
Patricia
Field, she kind of purposely picked the same neckline for Andy and Miranda to show that they're essentially now the same. Or Andy's gonna become like Miranda if she doesn't change her ways. Yeah. So again, costuming speaking to character development.
Yeah.
And
it's
story.
So good. Oh my god.
It's so brilliant. I think I can't pick a favorite look with Miranda. Honestly, I love everything she wears.
It's really
she's so,
I love
so
everything
good.
that she wears. It's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
All I can say is if ever I get to that age, when I get to that age, I would love to look like Miranda.
Oh my god. Amazing.
Okay, so we are this episode is going to be a nice long one, but we're almost at the end.
Yeah,
towards the end, we're going to be talking about the legacy of this film. Yes. So an interesting thing that I did not know about is that there is a second book called Revenge Wears Prada. And the story for this is just a quick synopsis or quick plot is that Emily, so in the film we watched Emily come back to work for Miranda after her accident, all that. In the book, the second book, we have Emily who gets fired.
Yeah.
And she meets up with Andy at some cooking class or whatever. They eventually become good friends and they decide to start their own magazine, which is a bridal magazine.
Yeah.
And they get this amazing deal from Elias Clark to buy them out. And when they find out that who is going to be their editor, it is Miranda Priestley. Andy wants to back out. Emily does not. And Emily essentially goes behind Andy's back to Andy's husband. And they decide to sell it to Elias Clark.
Yeah.
And that causes a rift between the two girls. Miranda eventually does fire Emily. Again. So it's all about that.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just like...
I don't think I like that.
I don't like that.
It implies that Emily is stupid.
And at the end of the book, apparently Emily then decides to go to LA and open up a hair salon. What?
No.
That is not my Emily Charlton.
Honestly,
thank you very much.
I see Emily at Runway Forever, as depressing as that sounds.
I would eventually like to see her as as if not editor-in-chief, at least one of the editors.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
Move out of her assistant role.
Yeah.
I just think it's so that's sad.
No,
that's a sad way to think of that. So I do not want to think about Revenge Wears Prada.
No.
I'm glad.
We're not thinking about
I
that.
like where it ends in the film. But speaking of legacy, you talked about the Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt interview.
Oh my god, yes. So The Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt variety actors on actors was basically Emily Blunt for talking about Oppenheimer and Anne Hathaway's movie. I think it's called Eileen. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. And like, yes, they're talking about their movies and everything, and they give a few like anecdotes about Devil Wears Prada, and then at the end, and this has never happened in a variety actors on actors before, the producers and like the people there hand them quotes, cards of quotes on, and give it to them, and then like they're talking, they'll say the quote out loud, and they're like giving anecdotes about like each thing. This has never happened before. Like, there have been, like, several, like, people, like, reunions that have happened. And, like, so, like, you know, a few years ago, it was Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson that were anything. They didn't give them Marvel quotes to talk about. But it's like they knew that history was going to be made by this. And they were like, we need to talk about Devil Wears Prada as well. And we got such great little anecdotes and stories and everything, like, about the quotes and, like, all this stuff. And, like, my favorite was, so when Andy says, okay, can you please spell Gabbana? Which is one of the best lines ever. Anne Hathaway was like, I was in Italy a few years ago. Yeah. And I checked into the hotel and everything. And I go in, and there's a cake there waiting for me, and she's like, you know, Italian cakes are amazing. Like, I was so excited. But then I opened the box, and on top in icing it was written, okay, can you please spell Gabbana?
Like, that's a good one.
It's so great. So like, this is what I mean, like, this is a part of legacy in terms of like, it is so iconic, that to the point where people knew that these two were going to have their actors on actors together. They knew this needed to happen because everyone loves this movie. Like, I don't think I agree. Ever met a person who doesn't love The Devil Wears Prada.
I agree.
And if you don't love it, you haven't watched it enough.
You haven't watched it properly.
You haven't watched it properly, and you haven't watched it enough.
Maybe, yeah. I would say even if you watch it one time, you can appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, you can really...
You really can.
See, this is what I'm going to say. Even if you don't love it, you can appreciate how good the film is.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Why would we consider it a modern classic?
Because it's timeless.
Yeah.
It's like, even like how we say, like, some of the clothes could still fit in today.
Yeah.
The dialogue, the way it's written, it's not written like in an archaic, like, you know, back in ye old days dialogue. Yeah. It's nothing like that. Like, you know, there's some movies that you watch from even the same year, which are like, I don't think people talk like that now. You know? Yeah. Whereas this is still like, people talk like this. You know, people have the same kind of like affliction and like all this stuff to their...
And I think that's the testament to good writing.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, like, when you read the script, it's like, oh my God, this is like... It's brilliant. Like, and there's nothing like spectacular in like the descriptions or anything. It's not like
the je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, but it just has something as a script, as a film. It's incredible. I love this movie.
It is really, really good. The thing that I really think makes it timeless is because it depicts a world, and you take away the fashion side of it. It's, let's say, it's an office. Right? Yeah. It's work. Yeah. It depicts a world that is so similar to the world that we live in that it's so relatable. Yeah. You know, like, it is toxic. The characters are going through dramas with their bosses and co-workers. They're going through dramas with their friends and their relationships and all of that. All of those things we still go through in a similar way. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we've got more technology and all that, but it's not so far removed that it feels like another world. Yeah. You know? Like, when you watch films that were made in the 80s or the 90s, yes, they're classics and we love those, but they seem almost like fantasies. Very nostalgic. Like, if you watch, you know, what's our favorite film? My Best Friend's Wedding. Yeah. That is not a world that we have ever been in. No. And I'm not talking about the fact that, you know, there's rich upper class in Chicago. It's not about that. It's that time period. We've never lived like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people watching that have never lived like that. So it remains like a fantasy almost.
Yeah.
Whereas this is very real.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't have to necessarily be fashion industry, but pretty much any industry you've got this kind of behavior in a workplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
And situations that you have to go through.
Yeah.
So I think
and no one
that
can say that, oh, my work culture is not toxic, but at some point it can be.
Yeah, it's
or you're just you know,
maybe you're very good at navigating that toxic
yeah.
work culture, but it is.
Yeah.
If not for you, then for someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Maybe you're the toxic one.
Maybe you're the toxic one and you haven't realized it. But anyway.
Oh my God. Anyway, I think let's come back to this and end it because it has been a long episode, but we love talking about this.
Yes.
This has been, I think, after the Mummies, has been my other very, very favorite episode.
Yeah, it's been fun.
It's been so much fun. We will continue with our series for modern classics.
Yeah.
We've got a list, but we're not going to share that list
with you guys
because we're working through it.
We have to give you a surprise. Like,
yeah. So we just wanted to sort of end with a Happy New Year. We didn't wish anyone a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Gosh, that's bad. Happy New Year. Hope
Happy
everyone has had
2024.
Happy 2024. Hopefully we'll have a really good start to the year. So far it's been okay. Continue. But just wanted to mention that we will be making some changes in the way we do our content, and also we will announce certain things which are in the works at the moment. They have not come to fruition
yet,
so when they do, we will let you know. But a couple of reminders: we are on all your podcast where you listen to your podcast, except for Apple Podcast. You can only listen to a certain
up to episode 76.
Unfortunately, because there's something going on with Apple Podcasts. I don't know what's happening.
We're still trying to figure it out. We've been trying to figure out for over a year now.
It's been over a year, and it's
no one's responding to us at Apple.
We're not sure what's happening.
So annoying.
So a lot of our audience, unfortunately, did come from Apple.
Yeah.
So most people who have been listening to us are on Spotify and other ones.
Yeah.
So please continue listening to us on there. We are also available on YouTube. We are on a bit of a backlog for YouTube because we've only got our one episode on there just now.
Yeah.
It's because I'm the one doing all the editing.
I thought we had Ted Lasso and something.
Yeah, just Ted Lasso. I didn't put the Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah,
one
because
up there.
we were in the strike.
Because we were in the strike. Yeah. So So we're in a bit of a backlog.
Yeah.
For our episodes. So I will put those in eventually.
Yeah.
So I will try and get onto YouTube as soon as I can. But go onto YouTube and listen to our Ted Lasso one if you haven't heard it.
Yeah.
Please join our socials. We're on Instagram, Twitter,
TikTok,
and TikTok. Well, again, I have to update on TikTok. But
I don't use TikTok. That's
I'm going to be better at doing TikTok this year.
Yeah.
I've decided. But yeah,
I don't want to give in to TikTok.
Do it.
I've been so good throughout the whole pandemic, and everybody really compliments me on that fact. Whenever they're like, "You're not on TikTok," and I'm like, "No," and they're like, wow, congratulations. And they're actually genuinely serious. But anyway.
Yeah, fair enough.
Who knows?
Fair enough. But anyway, find us on our socials and all of that. And if you've got any suggestions as to what you think is a modern classic, we would love to hear from you. I'll put it as a poll on our Spotify page as well. We'd love to have you guys participate.
Yeah. So
we will... thank you for listening. If you've been listening to us for a while, please continue. We really, really need our audience. Please follow us on Spotify if you've just found us. We have a lot of content.
God, I know.
As we said, this is at 87 episodes.
Yep. We have to think about what we're going to do for 90.
Dude, yeah. We do need to think about it.
Yeah.
But we really appreciate people who've stuck with us. But we really, really would like new people to also start listening to us. So if you have mistakenly stumbled upon us and found us and you like us, hello,
welcome to our world,
our chaotic world. And please follow us.
Yes,
we would really, really appreciate. I hate begging, but it is what it is.
This is what we have to do at the start. We're still really at the start.
Appreciate it. Yes.
If you think about it. Anyway.
87 episodes in and we're still at the start.
We've
barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking.
Thank you for listening. We will talk to you next time. And that's all.
Nice one. Bye.
Bye.